Well, of course, despite all the tough talk, the fact is that illegal migration across from France continues. Over 44,000 people this year. And I do have to say, I was quite optimistic when Suella Braverman came in as Home Secretary, because she had openly spoken about, in her leadership campaign, the need to leave the ECHR in order to stop the boats. Yet we have now a farcical situation, really, where the Home Secretary, having advocated that position, isn't allowed to implement that agenda and has effectively become a rebel within the government. You'll notice, of course, talk of the Rwanda policy, which was announced back in April. Absolutely no sign of that whatsoever. That policy won't be happening this year, of course, because a foreign judge in a European court intervened. As for what the Conservatives are going to do, it's clear now that many Tory MPs are really feeling quite a major backlash from voters, unhappy that the government, despite the tough talk, have not stopped the boats. And indeed, we've seen a surge this year across from France, far worse than we saw last year. This is front page news on the Sunday Times, that panicking Tories are planning tough new laws, apparently, and that they've been stung by public opinion and are doubling down on hardline plans to convince sceptical voters. And as viewers of my channel will know, look, I try and be as fair and balanced as I can. I think it's fair to say now that the government's credibility in terms of talking about plans or what they intend to do in the future hold very little credibility. The public are going to want to see action. They're going to want to see action before the next election, not further promises about what they would do going forward. I mean, for goodness sake, they've got a massive majority in Parliament. What's interesting, though, is that Suella Braverman has intervened here, endorsing a report that's going to be published on Monday, calling for a whole bunch of measures, including a statutory cap of 20,000 asylum seekers each year. This was written by Nick Timothy, a former advisor to Theresa May when she was Home Secretary and Prime Minister. And you see here, modelled on sort of an Australian-style Operation Sovereign Borders. Recommendations include indefinite detention of all asylum seekers who enter the country illegally. Laws making it impossible to claim asylum in the UK after travelling from a safe country, i.e. France, of course, to allow detention and offshoring, including, if necessary, Britain's withdrawal from the European Convention on Human Rights. Now, Braverman makes clear in the foreword that she doesn't agree with everything in the report, but she welcomes it as vital and necessary. Of course, when it comes to the ECHR, that seems to me to be the start of ending this crisis if we must leave the ECHR. And as I said, Braverman has advocated that, and the government's still awaiting court rulings on cases brought forward against its plans to send those coming across to Rwanda. And apparently a conversation is going on in government about whether the UK should withdraw from the ECHR. Well, I think that's been blindingly obvious from the moment that we saw, as I said, a European court intervene and block a British government policy that was announced back in April that now isn't happening this year. I mean, for goodness sake, if the Conservatives are to have any hope whatsoever of winning the next election, we need to see a bit more urgency, I think. But this looks to me like Suella Braverman herself, frustrated at the lack of action and pushing for a far tougher approach. As I said, words at this stage, I think, really have become meaningless. Voters are going to want to see action and results. Let me know what you make of all of that in the comments below, guys. Please do whack this video a quick thumbs up. And of course, as ever, cheers for watching.